This week in wrestling, freshmen made stunning debuts. We got our glimpse of official weight changes this season, and Virginia Tech and UNC kick off the ACC schedule with a bang. But who will win? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to the Fanco Wrestling Show. The wrestling show live on YouTube every Wednesday night. Make sure you join me on YouTube, or we're now on Apple Podcasts. You can actually check us out on Apple Podcasts, where you can click subscribe, and I will have a little bit of an update about that because we have an exciting contest to launch the official live show, the Fanco Wrestling Show. To celebrate the live Fanco Wrestling Show on Apple Podcasts, I'm actually giving away 2 free channel emoji sticker packs. This will be good for 2 years. So you can actually comment along with things on the channel with the exclusive Fanco wrestling emojis. If you're a subscriber, you may notice the join button at the bottom of this video that actually enables you to get these exclusive emoji stickers. So you actually will also get a loyalty badge next to your name. So if you're wondering, how do I enter this contest? Well, you just have to follow these steps. First, search the Fanco Wrestling Show on Apple Podcasts and write a review on Apple Podcasts. Steps 2, make sure that you screenshot that and send me an email at fancowrestling@gmail.com, or you can also Instagram DM me to be entered. The contest will end this Sunday, January 17th at midnight. I can't wait to see who ends up winning this and who I will see in the future comments as a channel supporter. And that brings us to the exciting show that we have upcoming this week. So much to talk about, including in freshman debuts, which is actually the first main topic of the day. So let's talk about freshman debuts over last weekend. There were 6 freshmen who really stunned and made great debuts in their first showing as freshmen. So there was a lot going on here. The first guy I want to talk about is Dylan Ragusin of Michigan. And holy cow, Ragusin just made an impact at Michigan. The true freshman pinned Nick Aguilar of Rutgers. He beat also, that same weekend, last weekend, he also beat King Sandoval of Maryland. He beat him by major decision. He beat MD by MD. Kind of funny, but he will be facing a tough schedule. You know, in the upcoming weeks, he's going to see some tough guys at 125 pounds. I'm interested to see how he's going to do, but this 2-time Illinois State champion and 6-time Fargo All-American is going to be big for Michigan. If this is, I don't want to call this like what was a potential hole for Michigan, but if they can actually fill this with now Ragusin as a potential All-American, that's going to be huge and Michigan just going to jump leaps and bounds. He was previously unranked, now is a top 15 ranked wrestler. And now that moves us into the next big freshman who made a impressive debut. Really all around, these guys made great debuts, and that was Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, first of all, let's talk about Trevor Mastrogiovanni of Okie State at 125 pounds. He beat Fabian Gutierrez, who was the number 18 ranked guy of Chattanooga. He beat him by a decision 8-2. Now listen, is this a top 10 win? No. Is this a top 5 win? No. Is anybody saying he should be an All-American right now? Well, a couple of people actually are, but he beat a top 18 ranked guy. That's darn impressive. He also beat Oregon State's wrestler by a decision. Now, Trevor Mastrogiovanni, if you don't know, is a 3-time Preps champ out of Blair, an Ironman champ out of Sparta, New Jersey. So now he is a top 16 ranked wrestler, previously unranked. And this is just bumping up Oklahoma State in their rankings and projections for the NCAA tournament. And not only him, not only Mastrogiovanni, but also Dustin Plott, who's a true freshman who got 2 nice W's on the weekend, a decision and a tech fall, but also AJ Ferrari at 197 pounds, the true freshman who earned 2 major decisions on the weekend. Oklahoma State is impressive this year, and I think that they are just going to continue to show up in the season. They're just going to continue to make leaps and bounds as they head into 2021 and beyond. Next up, we have Brock Hardy at 149 pounds. So Hardy at 149 pounds, wow. Maybe you forgot about him, but he's at Nebraska, the freshman. You may have forgot about him because he actually took a 2-year mission trip. I actually didn't even realize it, but he took a 2-year mission trip. I found this information out from Matt Scouts over at Rockfin. Get a lot of great wrestling news and information from Matt Scouts, but he actually took the number 18 spot from Michael Blockus of Minnesota, who he was previously unranked, is Brock Hardy, and geez, this, like I said, like a Michigan, a potential hole that they had at 125, I think that 149 I wasn't sure what was going to happen with Nebraska, but Hardy showed up, and I think he's going to continue to do great things this season. So that's just another impressive freshman this year. At 165, this is the match that a lot of people are talking about. And by a lot of people, I think they're really talking about this because I mentioned Matt Scouts before, but Willie Saylor called this upset over Peyton Robb. Andrew Sparks of Minnesota, the true freshman, beat number 10 Peyton Robb 7-6. And this was a match. I mean, this was quite a match. I watched the match. And while Sparks was a 2020 California State champ, coming in as a true freshman is impressive. But Robb came out, he got the first slick takedown, was able to earn riding time. I think it was almost 2 minutes he got on Andrew Sparks. And then went into the second, got another takedown with maybe like a minute left. So it was 5-1. Sparks was winning this, Peyton Robb was winning this match. Then Sparks mounted a comeback. He got a takedown with 3 seconds left on the clock in the second period. He went down, earned an escape, got another takedown, made the score 7-5. Robb ended up getting the escape, but he was able to. But before he got the escape, Sparks was able to eliminate the riding time, which I think was even more impressive. Just that he was able to ride him out like that. And holy cow, what a match there! Andrew Sparks is going to be somebody to watch out. He bumps up to the number 16 in the rankings, and honestly, it's a spot that's well deserved. Now let's talk about 174 pounds. Trey Muniz of Arizona State. It's a team that I haven't really talked about in a little while, is Arizona State, but he was able to defeat Anthony Mantanona with 3 minutes of riding time he was able to earn. He beat him by a score of 8-3, and holy cow. I also want to mention at Arizona State this year is another freshman in Colton Schultz. Schultz, at 285 pounds, redshirt freshman, wrestled was able to earn a decision in a fall and a decision. He actually wrestled. He didn't make his debut this weekend, which is kind of what I'm talking about here, freshmen who made debuts, but he did wrestle this weekend and got a win against Oklahoma. And I mean, really great match all around. In Arizona State, they're a team that needs to start really getting their freshmen kind of on the same page because they lost a lot of tough guys with Zahid Valencia, with Josh Shields. So it's good to see them growing. And the two true freshman that I want to talk about is Nathan Haas. He, of Nebraska, at 184 pounds, was filling in for Venz. Now, he was filling in for Venz. Venz was out this past week. He's expected to be back in the duel against Iowa, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but he was back in the duel. He started in the duel, beat number 15 Owen Webster. So really the main reason I want to bring this up is because although Taylor Venz is still ranked and he will continue to be ranked unless for some reason there's some unknown problem we don't know about, it just shows how deep Nebraska is. Nebraska is deep, and if they're able to get their backup, quote unquote backup, to defeat the top 15 guy in the country in Owen Webster of Minnesota, I mean, that just shows that Nebraska is deep, and I'm stoked on Nebraska. I have been for a while, and I will continue to be stoked on Nebraska. And then we have to get into the important weight changes. So there are some very important weight changes that have happened this past year, and really, I'll get into it, but there are some very interesting weight changes. But first, I have to talk about this book. So you may know that now I'm on Apple Podcasts, and you may know that A is for Apple. If A is for Apple, then B is for boring, okay? And if you have kids or know somebody who has kids, then you know about the classic ABC books that teach them the alphabet. But there's actually now a better way to introduce the alphabet to your kids while also giving them an introduction to the sport of wrestling at the same time. Wrestling the Alphabet book. So instead of Apple, they have Askren. Instead of ball, they have Brands. Instead of cat, they have Kale Sanderson. So authors and partners Pat and Amanda Hogan actually sent me a copy of Wrestling the Alphabet book, and I've really enjoyed this. I like looking at all the stories that are involved in this book. I like looking at the vibrant artwork printed on each page, and it's actually sitting behind me now in the studio. But if you're interested in purchasing or checking out a copy for yourself, you can check it out at wrestlingthealphabet.com or by clicking the link down in the description below. Now let's get to the important weight changes this season. So with the pandemic brought wrestlers to, let's call it for what it is. A lot of wrestlers had time to either gain a lot of weight or gain a lot of muscle, which pretty much made them gain weight because they had 8 months to do. I mean, they didn't have a lot going on, right? So all they could do was train, or in some cases eat. Hopefully, the second one is not what a lot of them went through. So what are some of the weight changes that happened this season? First, I want to mention at 125 pounds, I'm going to go 125 up to heavyweight. And spoiler alert, there actually weren't any big heavyweight changes that I have to talk about. So 125, Cody Russell of App State dropped down from 133 pounds, multiple-time national qualifier. He'll be trouble in the SoCon at App State. Cody Russell, tough wrestler. 133, Brandon Patesel of Lehigh was at 125 last season, bumped up to 133. Now he's a top 10 ranked wrestler, multiple-time national qualifier, and he did well at EIWAs last year. And I expect that to happen again this year, considering especially that a lot of the teams in the EIWAs are unfortunately not wrestling. And then, I mean, this is the biggest weight change. This is the biggest weight change there is. It's number one, Sebastian Rivera. Sebastian Rivera is bumping up from 133 to 141 pounds. He was at 125 a couple seasons ago, was able to beat Spencer Lee. Last season, bump up to 133, beat, an impressive victory against Roman Bravo Young in the Big Ten championships. And he became a Big Ten champion. The whole New Jersey, and now he's at New Jersey, now he's at Rutgers, and now he's at 141 pounds. The two-time All-American will be wrestling 141, and I think he's going to be trouble at 141, and I don't think anybody's saying differently, right? But at 149, there are quite a few weight change rumors going around, but this is what's official right now. Top 20 ranked wrestler Josh Heil moved up from 141 to 149. He had wrestled 149 a couple seasons ago, did very well at 149, but Josh Heil, the three-time SoCon champ, three-time national qualifier, I'll be looking for him to All-American this year, as well as, unfortunately, did start the season with a loss against Bryce Andonian, but Andonian is a tough wrestler from Virginia Tech. Max Murin also bumped up. Murin really didn't have a choice, right? Ironman came in. I believe Ironman is... he probably made Murin bump up because Ironman is a better wrestler. At least that's what it seems like from everything going on. Or he could have just been doing it for the team, Murin being there. He multiple-time national qualifier, made the round of 12. I think he is another guy who's going to be on the stand this year. And then Michael Blockus of Minnesota. So a couple of these guys, it seems like 141 or 149 is just a big weight change with a lot of different guys bumping up to that weight this year. Michael Blockus, unfortunately, started the season with a loss to Brock Hardy of Nebraska, but Blockus, the transfer from UNI, was 22-10 last season, and I think he'll bounce back from that loss against Hardy. I think Hardy's just that tough wrestler. At 157, Brayton Lee of Minnesota at 149 pounds, or was at 149 pounds, is now up to 157, was a national qualifier, and at one point was the number one ranked wrestler. There was a lot going on at 149 last year with Sammy Sasso, with Pat Lugo, with Austin O'Connor, and then Brayton Lee was, even though he didn't wrestle a lot of these guys, he was able to get into he was able to get in there. So that's kind of what happened there. Now we have to get into 165 pounds, and at 165 pounds is Anthony Valencia. So, like I said, we saw a lot of guys kind of going up a weight, but Anthony Valencia is the guy who's going down a weight. Anthony Valencia went from 174 down to 165, was 35-7, then 27-10 at 165 pounds, made the round 12 and round 16. He's just one of these guys that's due to All-American. He is due to get on the stand this year. I mean, I truly believe that he's due. He'll get his due this year. At 165 pounds, we'll see, this may be his weight. He's a top 5 wrestler. Peyton Robb and Austin Kreiser are two top 25 wrestlers. Austin Kreiser of Campbell is bumping down. He's another guy bumped down from 174 last year, now at 165. Peyton Robb was down at 157. He was an excellent Big Ten tournament last year, lost to Sparks of Minnesota in his season debut, which wasn't a great look for him, but I still think he's somebody who can rebound this year. At 174, Logan Massa is a guy who's bumping up from 165, has had a dominant season so far, and I think that's something that will only continue against Rutgers, against Maryland. Just has been a dominant wrestler, scoring, I believe, major decisions, possibly in both of those matches. And he was an All-American at 165. He placed third, and I think although he took his Olympic red shirt last year, and he made the round of 12 before that, I mean, he is just somebody who is, he'll get his due this year, and he's a top contender, top 3 guy at 174. Email Solon as well as Bailey O'Reilly. Solon of Purdue and O'Reilly of Minnesota are two guys who will also be, Solon, the reason I want to mention him is I think him bumping up to 174 just really makes Purdue tougher. With Ninehouse at 165, with Lyon at 184, Solon fits right in there for Purdue, and I think it's a tough lineup, and I think they're going to compete in the Big Ten. Now, let's talk about 184. At 184, a couple guys. Miles Amin bumping up from 174, now at 184. Three-time All-American, the only three-time All-American on this list. Interestingly enough, there aren't a whole lot of All-Americans on this list, and I think, obviously, that has to come into some sort of effect, is like, did these guys All-American add another weight, and that could be why they're bumping up. Could just be they're gaining a lot of muscle. Could see they're seeing where guys are shifting, so that's kind of happened, right? And I think that's where we see a couple of these guys. Now, Miles Amin, this is a guy, Michigan's lineup is just tough, and with him at 184 now, unbelievable. Winning records at every single year, All-American, 4th, 3rd, and 30th placed, and obviously looking for a national title this year. Okie State, a lot of new guys in the lineup, but one guy who is bumping up this year, or who is bumping down this year, is Dakota Gear, bumping down from 197 last season, was an All-American at 184. He placed 7th, so how is he going to do at 184 pounds now? Arguably could do better. Sam Colbury of Iowa State, another guy who is bumping up from 174 pounds of Iowa State. Again, like some of these other teams, like Michigan, like Purdue I talked about, Colbury is just making Iowa State that much tougher of a team. 197, a couple guys I want to talk about. Billy Janser of Rutgers, Jelani Embry of Michigan, and then Ohio State has either Chase Singletary or Gavin Hoffman, both guys who are bumping down. Hoffman's kind of been all over the map, but Singletary and Hoffman actually wrestled off this past weekend. If you missed my video about the Ohio State wrestle-off, you can make sure to check that out, the Big Ten Tuesday video. But Hoffman won the wrestle-off in overtime in a tight match at 197 pounds, and we'll see what happens for Ohio State, and we'll see how each of these guys competes. Please let me know in the comments, which weight change are you most stoked about? I'm sure most of you will be stoked about the Sebastian Rivera weight change, but there are a lot of other guys who are kind of shifting up and down that I'm interested to hear your take on. Now listen, the battle for the ACC starts this week. The battle for the ACC starts this week. Number 8, Virginia Tech will be taking on number 14, UNC this Friday night, January 15th at 6 o'clock p.m. on the ACC network. So let's talk about the ACC and what the heck is going on with the ACC, because there are a lot of tough teams here, right? ACC has been the conference that has just been unbelievable. There's some big upcoming duels. But we'll talk about why this is the main topic of the show, and why this is such a big conference, exciting conference, is because there are just a lot of ranked teams. I think I saw it the other day, Big Ten is 12 in the top 25, which is the first time in history, which is actually unbelievable. But the ACC has, last year, I think they had 4 teams in the top 10, 3 or 4 teams in the top 10, which is unreal. Obviously, NC State is one of those, and they're a top 5 team right now. But there's also they'll be battling Pitt on January 22nd. That's next weekend. They will be also wrestling UNC the weekend after that. And then they'll be taking on Virginia Tech the weekend after that in February. So those are the big duels with NC State. And it's kind of crazy. It seems like last year we waited so long to see each of these duels. But that's because the season was so long. Now there's no extra time. It's just we get battle after battle after battle after battle after battle every single week. Then UNC and Pitt will wrestle on February 5th, and Pitt and Virginia Tech. So what are the rankings this year? Right now, as the coaches poll, which I like to talk about, the coaches poll for my official team rankings. This is when all the coaches get together, or I shouldn't say they get together, they don't get together, but they vote on which teams should be ranked where. NC State is a top 4 team, Virginia Tech number 8, Pitt at number 12, and UNC at number 13. I believe number 13 or 14 right now. So what is going to happen with these teams? What's going to happen with UNC and Virginia Tech? I'll get to that in just a second, in a full breakdown of what are the exciting matches that you should be watching this Friday night against UNC and Virginia Tech. So last year NC State went undefeated. They had the best record in the NCAA, 15-0, even better than Iowa, just because they had a couple more matches. I would have been excited to see that actual duel, but NC State was undefeated. UNC had wins over Virginia Tech and Pitt last year, had a great schedule other than that. And Virginia Tech had just a win over Pitt, lost to these other two teams. So Pitt is at the bottom of these rankings. Then we have a couple of other ACC schools as well, but these are the big schools worth noting. So let's talk about the duel and what the lineups are here. So we have some tough lineups. I mean, from 125, starting with Tag and Latona, to 133 with Heilman Hernandez going against Myers of Virginia Tech, top 10 matchup. We also have at 141, we have Zach Sherman going up against Hillegas. Sherman is a guy who just doesn't take crap from anybody, and he's sure as heck not going to take crap from the freshman Hillegas, but Hillegas is a tough wrestler. Watch out for that cradle Sherman. Austin O'Connor and Andonian going to be a heck of a duel. McLaurin Brady, Monday versus Mekhi Lewis, and I'll get into each of these duels, or each of these matches, like which ones are, why they're so interesting, but I just wanted to kind of read off some of these. Kanan Howard, Blair and Bolin, Sean Smith, and Gunning and Boers. So what are the big ones, okay? So each of these teams have 7 in the top 25. And then Virginia Tech actually is 2 in the top 8, while UNC has 1. So what are these matchups? First, let's talk about Austin O'Connor and Bryce Andonian. Now, Andonian came out this season, got a win over Josh Heil, who I believe at the time he was a top 15 ranked wrestler, may have been the top 10, but Andonian is now ranked top 16. Austin O'Connor, depending on where you look, he's number 1 or number 2 at 149 pounds, but number 1 guy, top guy at 149, right? If Bryce Andonian beats Austin O'Connor, this is just going to make him jump levels. I don't know if it's possible, but it could. I mean, this is the time to do it. This is the year to do it. Austin O'Connor has 2 wins over Andonian in the past, though, both by decision, but I think Andonian's been able to jump kind of levels in the offseason. Now, this season so far, I mentioned, Andonian had that win over Heil. He's actually 3-0 on the season. Austin O'Connor has a fall on the season over Gardner Webb in the first period. He got the fall. I mean, not a crazy tough matchup for him, but nonetheless, he does have a win on the season. At 165, Mekhi Lewis and Kennedy Monday. Mekhi Lewis, another top number 1 guy. I mean, we're going to see a couple of number 1 guys wrestle this duel, which is super cool to see. Even Hunter Bolin, who may not be number 1, but he's close there. We'll get to his match in just a second. But Mekhi Lewis going up against Kennedy Monday. These two have not yet wrestled in college. So far this season, Mekhi is 4-0, all bonus point wins against Campbell, Kent State, and Ohio. He beat a ranked Austin Kreiser and Colt Yinger of Ohio. And Monday, 28 last year, had big wins last year. And that's why I think this kind of is we're going to have to talk about is like Monday's able to get those big wins. He was able to beat McFadden Teckham. He beat Jake Wenzel. He did lose to him later at ACCs, but he did beat him of Pitt, who's a top-ranked guy. I don't know if he's on Mekhi Lewis's level. Obviously, that's why they're wrestling this weekend. That's where they're going to show up. This is going to be a funky match, I think. I think we're going to see Monday do some funky stuff, and he's going to have to in order to beat Mekhi Lewis, the top guy, the returning national champion at 165 pounds. Then let's talk about 184. Clay Lott or Blair. Hopefully we get Lott this weekend, top 15 ranked guy of UNC against Hunter Bolin, who like I said is a top 2 guy from Virginia Tech. Lott didn't wrestle this last week, but he is ranked at 184 pounds. He's listed at 174 on the UNC site, so we'll see where Lott goes. That's kind of the other question is, does he go 74 or 84? Questions will be answered this weekend. And at 285 pounds at heavyweight, Andrew Gunning, number 23 Andrew Gunning going up against number 19 John Boers. Boers of Virginia Tech has 3 wins over Gunning already. 3 decisions over Gunning, so it's not out of the question that Gunning can get this victory, but it is a key matchup. We have the O'Connor and Andonian matchup. We have the Mekhi and Kennedy Monday matchup, and we have the Gunning and Borst matchup. 2 top 25 guys. Now, Gunning so far this season has a win against Gardner Webb. Borst has a decision, a tech fall, and a tech fall, but no major wins of note that we have to talk about. So where will this duel come down to, and what are going to be the important matches? They're going to be really at 157 and 197. It's going to come down to those 2 matches, which aren't even in the matches that I talked about. They're going to be matches that are going to be important just because the unranked guys are going to have to beat another unranked guy, and that's going to be important for team points. It's also going to come down to bonus points, which I think is going to be big. UNC will have to win both of those, I think. I think right now Virginia Tech is favored on paper. But what is my prediction? And if Virginia Tech, it goes their way, I think they win 19-14. But my prediction, what I think is going to happen, I think that UNC, just like last year, I think they also get a win and win 17-16. And that's what's going to happen this Friday night, which you can watch on the ACC network at 6 o'clock p.m., Virginia Tech and UNC. Leave a comment. Who do you think is going to win this exciting duel? And who's going to win the ACC overall this season? Now, we have to talk about the Iowa and Nebraska duel. We talked about UNC and Virginia Tech, but we have to talk about Iowa and Nebraska. And this is going to be a fire duel. The first massive Big Ten duel of the season. And we will get to that in just 1 second. But the first thing that I do have to talk about is this. I have to ask you a question first. Are you looking for more Fanco wrestling content, or have you been craving behind-the-scenes videos of the channel? If so, then you may want to join the Fanco Wrestling Patreon community, where I upload exclusive channel updates, behind-the-scenes videos, updates, and even recently I wrote an article, which is, I'm extremely proud of this article. I wrote it about how Penn State or Nebraska or even Michigan could potentially beat the Iowa Hawkeyes this season. What they have to do to beat the Hawkeyes. You can view this article exclusively on the Fanco Wrestling Patreon. Plus, you can even receive some awesome perks such as Fanco stickers and shirts, all while supporting the growth of the Fanco wrestling business. You can become a channel member today by going to patreon.com/Fanco Wrestling or by clicking the direct link in the description below. So I would really appreciate if you joined, and I think you would get some amazing content that you're just, behind the scenes that you're not going to see anywhere else. And that brings us to this week's exciting segment. Let's talk about the duel of the week. Iowa versus Nebraska. Number 1 Iowa versus number 5 Nebraska. This is the duel of the week, going down this Friday night, 9 o'clock p.m. in Iowa City. That's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. There's only one unranked wrestler in this entire duel. So that just tells you how amazing this duel is going to be. There are going to be fireworks in this duel. And before I get into the actual projections, what I think is going to happen, please let me know in the comments below. Who wins? Does Iowa win it outright easily? Or is Nebraska going to be able to pull something off? So let's talk about all of this in this segment. So these are the lineups here. The only unranked guy that is even in this lineup right now is potentially Nathan Haas at 184. That's if he does not wrestle. And I think that Venz will be back at 184 for Nebraska. But the only other guy is Alex Thompson at 133 for Nebraska. Is unranked right now by Flow Wrestling, which is where I'm getting my wrestling rankings. Some people there's a whole argument about where to get wrestling rankings. So take this obviously with a grain of salt. So let's talk about each of these matches and who could potentially win. So let's start out at 125 pounds. In at 125 pounds is Spencer Lee. Spencer Lee starting out the duel versus Cronin. Number 1 Spencer Lee, top 15 guy in Liam Cronin. He pinned him last season. He also was a tech fall against him. And I really see this going another pin for Spencer Lee this year. Spencer Lee is going to prove that he's the guy again. Recent Hodge Trophy winner. I really think that he's going to get the fall, or at least bonus points if he does not end up getting the fall. So that puts up Iowa big right off the bat. Next, let's talk about the 133 pounds. And at 133 pounds, it's DeSanto and Alex Thompson. And with DeSanto and Alex Thompson, DeSanto's a top 5 guy. Say what you want about DeSanto. I really do love watching him wrestle. I think he brings a lot of grit, a lot of energy to his matches. It's his senior season. Whether he comes back for another year with this extra year of eligibility, we'll see. But, Thompson is sophomore, 13 and 15 last season. DeSanto, I think, is just going to take it to him. I think he's going to pick up that major decision and pick up 4 points for the Iowa Hawkeyes. At 141, we're going to get the debut of Jaden Ironman, the top 2 ranked wrestler, at 141 pounds. We're going to get his debut in an Iowa singlet going up against number 5, Chad Red. So an exciting matchup right off the bat for Ironman and Chad Red, right? So Ironman, it's his first time back on the mat since 2019. He's wrestled freestyle matches in the past year, but first time back in the folk style college D1 mat. He's back on the mat in an Iowa singlet, 3-time All-American, but Chad Red's a 2-time All-American. Now, unfortunately, Chad Red won his first match of the season. He won by decision against an unranked guy from Minnesota. He's going to have to do more if he wants to beat Jaden Ironman. I don't know if he's there yet. We'll see in this match. I don't know if he's there yet, and that's why I also think that because they're in Iowa, even though I don't think that they're going to be fans, but, they're in their home arena in Carver Hawkeye, that brings some sort of energy, at least some excitement. And I think Ironman picks up that win just by a decision. Probably not more than that. Maybe pulls out something crazy. I just don't see it happening. At 149 pounds, Max Murin will make his debut at 149 pounds, and he will be going up against Brock Hardy. Now, Brock Hardy is somebody who made a big statement in the past week by upsetting Michael Blockus of Minnesota. Hardy is coming back from a 2-year missions trip. Picked that information up from Matt Scouts. Actually, didn't even know he's coming back from a 2-year missions trip, but he is coming back from that, and so that's kind of cool. So he's a little bit older, but he is a freshman of Nebraska, and he's a top 20 ranked guy right now after that win against Michael Blockus of Minnesota. Max Murin bumping up to 149. We'll see how he does. I think he is built for 41 a little bit better, but obviously he knew he was bumping up, so he had the time to put it weight left in the offseason and kind of get up there. This is a match I think can actually go in Hardy's way. I think can go Hardy's way, and if he beats Max Murin, just beating Blockus and then Murin would be a huge statement for Nebraska and for Hardy. I think this is one of the upsets of the duel. I think this may be one of the upsets of the duel and of the night. At 157, and please let me know if you think I'm absolutely crazy for saying that. At 157, Caleb Young and Caleb Licking. The battle of the Calebs. Number 9 is top 10 guy in Caleb Young. Now, listen, Young he's a senior. Both these guys are seniors, but this is going to be Young's redemption. He was 0-2 at Big Tens last year, and I don't want to keep bringing that up because he's way better than that. Young is better than that. All-American. He needs to redeem himself, and I think this is the match that he can do it. He's not necessarily known for being a bonus point scorer, a bonus points guy, but this is also Licking's first official season on the mat. So I do want to mention that a little bit, right? Licking hasn't even wrestled official duels in the past. And this season, he has a 10-5 loss to Brayton Lee. But he wrestled him tight, and as a senior, we'll see how he's going to do against Caleb Young. I expect Young to still get the win, but by just a decision. Just a decision, I think he's going to get that. Then 165. 165 is going to be hype, okay? 165 is going to be hype. Marinelli versus Peyton Robb. Peyton Robb, unfortunately, has that loss to Sparks of Minnesota. But Robb, former national qualifier, but Alex Marinelli is on a mission this year. I truly believe that he is determined. He thought that last year was taken from him and so many other wrestlers, but how is Marinelli going to do? I think he's determined, and I think that he's going to come out strong this year. I think as a top 2 ranked wrestler at 165, I think he's going to get the major decision against Peyton Robb, especially because, an unfortunate loss from Robb last week, although Robb will be looking to redeem himself, and this will be the match to do it, but I don't think I see him going that way against Marinelli. Now, let's talk about 174 with Kemmer and Labriola, and there's a lot of excitement here. But before I talk about that excitement, I do want to tell you that I actually did talk about how Nebraska could beat Iowa, and I talked about that in another video because right now it kind of seems like it's a really one-sided unless Iowa, I talk about Iowa picking up these Nebraska picking up these last couple of matches. I don't know if it's possible. We'll see. But if you're interested in seeing how Nebraska could win this duel, make sure you check out the other video on my channel where I dive deep into that, or the article on the Patreon page. But at 174 with Kemmer and Labriola, a lot of people don't realize, but this came down to the wire last year. It was it was 1-1 until Kemmer was able to pick up the takedown with like 30 seconds left in the match, in the duel. I mean, Labriola was working for the takedown, and he will continue to be working for the takedown, but he's going to have to wear down Kemmer in this match in order to get that. And that's what he was doing a lot of the duel. Like, I watched this. I mean, I watched the duel in the match from last year, and it was exciting. Labriola was super good at squaring up, getting that shot defense in, and defending Kemmer's shot. And he was so close to actually taking Kemmer down a couple of times. But can Labriola pull off the win? It's possible. But this year, I still right now have Kemmer winning. If you want to, if like you're talking to your other friends, your wrestling friends and family, and you're like, what duel or what match could be an upset? This is the one I think could be the upset, with Labriola and Kemmer at 174. At 184, Venz did not wrestle last week, but I think we're going to see him wrestle this week. Nathan Haas still was able to get the win at 184 last week for Nebraska. But then we have Assad or Brands. That's the question. Is it going to be Assad, again, who's a top 10 ranked guy, or Nelson Brands, who could be a top 10 ranked guy? It's crazy the depth that Iowa has. And obviously it's even tougher for Nelson Brands. Like, if he can't make the lineup, like, I doubt that he's going to transfer schools because, well, he's coach's son, and there's a lot of good things to go along with that. But, like, obviously, Brands is putting out the best wrestler, whoever that may be, and I think they have some opportunity to change guys out. But Venz and Assad, if we're going with those two guys, they're 1-1 against each other last year. Venz lost the first match against Assad and then picked up the win at Big Tens. Now, if Haas can win, or if he gets in the lineup, I still think he has a chance to win. He has the win against Webster of Minnesota. But overall, I mean, I think that I actually am picking. It's actually not an upset because Venz is number 6 and Assad's number 8, but I'm picking Nebraska to win this match in a decision. I think they're going to be able to get it. At 197, Warner and Schultz. Warner and Schultz did wrestle last year. And Schultz has the most recent win in the duel, a 3-1 win. And another tight one, just like the Labriola and Kemmer match. Now, Warner is actually 2-1 against Schultz, so he's 2 wins to Schultz's 1 win. But Schultz has the most recent victory. Schultz was able to get the takedown. I mean, the similarities between the Kemmer and Labriola match and this match are actually kind of uncanny. He got the takedown with 30, actually it was like 15 seconds left. It was crazy. 15 seconds left. You got to watch this match. And everything, as always, is linked in the description below, but you can find it on YouTube. But it's something that you definitely have to check out, is that match. So, who's going to win? To be honest with you, I think either of these guys are national title contenders. And at 197, that's a weight where I still truly believe that any guy can win 197. I think that is a weight class that's super competitive but super open, and anybody can win it. I picked Schultz to be in the national finals this year. I said that months ago. I still believe that. I think he's going to pick up the win, the decision against Warner. And at 285 pounds, Cassiope and Lance is the final match of the evening, or at least we'll see what's the final match of the evening. But as far as heavyweight, Cassiope number 3 and Lance number 12. Cassiope won last year in a 6-1 decision. He was able to win. Got a pair of takedowns. Cassiope's not like a real big, bonus guy, so I don't necessarily expect a lot of bonus out of him in this match, just a decision. So what's the final score of the duel according to what I have here? I have Iowa winning 26-9, which would be a huge win over a top 5 ranked Nebraska, who I think Nebraska is just an incredible team this year. But if Iowa pulls off the season with this type of opening, a 26-9 win, that would just propel them forward with immense momentum heading into the rest of the season. And let's talk about the upcoming matches this weekend, because there are some exciting upcoming matches this weekend. So obviously we have Nebraska and Iowa. We have Virginia Tech, a top 8 team, as well as UNC, a top 15 team, ACC battle. Lehigh and Navy should be an exciting one. If Navy can pull off this victory, just like they pulled off recent victory against Clarion, but if they pick off this victory against Lehigh, they will become a ranked team, likely, which I think they're right there on the edge. Top 10 Mizzou against a top team in Iowa State wrestling each other. Mizzou and Arizona State wrestling each other. and then Rutgers and Penn State. And there's a lot to be excited about with Penn State this year. Penn State, for the first time, actually released their full lineup roster. They had on their website, they had a whole media day event. They were the only D1 team not to release their roster on the website, which is it's just hilarious to me, the secrecy that Kale has. We'll see the Nittany Lions make their debut this weekend and see what the actual lineup is, because there's going to be, for sure, a lot to talk about next weekend with the Nittany Lions, with Iowa, with Nebraska, with the ACC. And as always, let me know what you think about what match are you most excited to watch this weekend. I'm super stoked. My name is Josiah, and that was your wrestling news.